So I mentioned that we're going to make this a fun podcast, make it interesting. We're filming on a Friday. So I've got three games that we could play, and then that will determine the questions that I'm going to ask you. Are you competitive? I'm yellow.
Did you mean to put it there?
No, but it's
take it
okay. No, it's okay. It might work out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand why I have less money to spend each month. No, that's a lot too, as well. Like, okay, well done. That's strategy for you. So,
Yeah.
is there a book that you would recommend for people to read?
The book I always recommend is Richest Man in Babylon because it's short, it's simple, it's full of parables and just easy to take away nuggets, and it's a great gateway book into learning about.
Hi everyone, I'm joined today by someone that's doing really great work in terms of educating the masses. He also focuses on educating Black people, which is special to me, and also amplifies women too. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with him. He is a financial advisor, award-winning content creator, and the founder of Mr. Manager. So welcome, Rotimi.
Thanks for having me, Ali.
Thank you. I was meant to say Rotimi Merriman-Johnson.
It's okay.
I knew I'll fumble on the last name. But yeah, thank you for joining in person. And yeah, I'm excited for our conversation today. But before we get into detail, I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself as well as let us know about your journey to financial education.
Well, at uni, I studied law.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Warwick University.
Interesting.
And I knew pretty much from the start that I didn't want to practice. So my first job out of uni was at a financial PR firm. I had lots of financial clients and I was on the research team there. I did kind of a lot of what I'm doing now, kind of going on government websites and doing consumer research projects and trying to get stories for financial clients into the press. And it was always about finding like the most eye-catching stats, the most exciting stories, but creating those things from numbers.
Okay.
So I did that for 3 years, spent some time doing influencer marketing. And after that, I also spent some time as a finance manager for a charity as well. But all the while, I had a lot of questions about money and a lot of interest in money because of my first job. I started to read books and educate myself, and I noticed that a lot of the information was in dollars, in US dollars, and I had an idea that, along with dozens of other people, by the way, because there are lots of financial content creators, lots of brilliant financial content creators, that if that same information was shared in pounds and pence, that it would reach an audience. And I started doing it 6 years ago now,
Okay.
but it really took off in the pandemic. Everyone was at home and on their phones. There was a huge demand for people wanting to learn about money. There was a lot of economic and financial change at that point in time.
I remember.
Fast forward to today, and as we were just saying before the episode started, yeah, online content, workshops, talks, TV appearances, TV adverts.
Number 10 as well.
Number 10, working on some books. So I'm grateful for all the opportunities. I did not ever expect this to happen, but I'm very grateful. And I'm using the opportunities I've been given to give back and to help.
That's brilliant. I mean, did it start off as you educating yourself for your financial journey and then you wanted to share that with others?
Basic things like, how do you get a pay rise at work? How do you get on the property ladder? How do you invest? Particularly, with my job, there was lots of jargon flying around all the time, and I wanted to be good. I wanted to be able to do my job. So I started to read lots of books, took a particular liking of Warren Buffett. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's someone who I'm a big fan of and have learned a lot from, albeit from afar. And what happens is when you read in a particular field, I like to call it focused reading, you deepen your knowledge, you broaden your knowledge, but then after a while you start to read the same things over and over again. And then by that point I was like, oh well, I have a pretty good grasp at this stuff, let me start to create content about it and share it. But the great thing about money is that the rules are always changing and the technology is always changing as well. So I'm constantly learning.
Mhm.
My day is wake up, exercise, read, think about it, write something down, film myself, post it.
Mm.
And that's just something that I continue to do. And I don't think there'll ever be a point where I've learned everything. And that's what I really love about this topic.
Mhm. It is moving really quickly, especially with technology as well.
Mm.
But I like that in terms of the discipline there. That's I need to take that
Yeah.
into.
I don't get me wrong, like, that's a good day.
Mhm.
Obviously, my job can be very, very varied, but that's what I strive to do each day.
Mhm. Brilliant. I mean, you've been doing this for years, as you said. I think I first came across one of your videos during the pandemic, and I was like, this is someone who is educating people. I started in the pandemic as well, but it was incidental. I don't think I was going to go on social media at first.
Okay.
I would have rather just kind of stick to Zoom with family and friends, but life takes us here. But it's been a long time that you've been doing this, which is great. And you've done a lot of campaigns as well, which is fantastic. Is there a campaign that kind of comes to mind that is your favorite?
I'm grateful for all the work I've worked on, but definitely the TV ad I did with Pension B
Hmm.
earlier this year has had one of the biggest impacts just simply because of the medium. So I'm a content creator. 90% of the work that I do is on social media, but when it comes to television, it still has that weight of like you're appearing on the big screen. I think I filmed it towards the end of last year. It started to air in the UK and US this year, and all year I've had friends and family members sending me photos of me on their TVs, on their pre-YouTube ads, their pre-Amazon Prime ads, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool because also, like I was saying to you before, I was never supposed to be the guy that ended up on TV. Everything that you see me doing that isn't me in front of a spreadsheet is stuff that I've had to learn how to do since 2019, 2020. I would say my baseline is to be quite quiet, quite introverted. Obviously, you do more stuff like this in front of the camera and you get used to it, but I'm experiencing this in real time with everyone else.
Mhm.
All these things are coming my way.
That's so great to know for, us introverts as
Yeah.
well, just to be like, you know what, you just need to practice. And
Have you done the Myers-Briggs personality test before?
I did, yeah.
What's your type?
At work, what are the different quadrants? You've got four, right?
Yeah, so there's IE, introverted, extroverted.
I,
Then there's, I think, like sensing or intuition,
mhm.
thinking and feeling, judging and perceiving. So I'm an INTJ, which is like the introverted thinking type.
Wow, that's good. Because then look at where you are. It works. You're using your strengths. I think I'm an introverted extrovert. Like if I was to be put in a situation, I'd have to just come out of my shell.
Yeah.
But my parents are really surprised that I'm speaking at all. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think it's inspiring as well for younger people to then watch you and then think, you know what, I can work at this and I've got an interest in this, but I can pivot from law into kind of financial education.
We're living in a really interesting time at the moment where I think the single biggest skill you could potentially learn is communication.
Mm,
When you think about the impact that being able to sit down, have a conversation like this one, or stand on a stage and share an idea,
mm,
a thought, post it online and then get, 10,000 views, 100,000 views, 1 million views. And if you were able to do that consistently, you could have a really successful company,
mhm,
or you just be immensely hireable. When you then combine that with the fact that AI is taking off at the rate that it is, I think that once we automate away all of the routine office work and the repetitive stuff, what will remain are the human skills. It will be the creativity, the communication, the humor, and so on. So yeah, to anyone listening to this, I think um, turning your phone camera on yourself and talking about something you know a lot about,
mhm,
or um, that you're very interested in, it can literally change your life. It's changed mine.
And learning as well, as you mentioned, like learning something and then passing that on. I think that's also a really good skill to be able to convey something to other people.
Well, the thing with the learning point is, don't take for granted the stuff that you think is normal.
Mhm.
So I had this interested in money, and I just assumed that everyone knew the stuff that I knew. But everyone's an expert at something, and everyone has their own thing that they're dedicating their time to learning. So what might be basic to you might literally be revolutionary to someone else, and there's no harm in sharing it and seeing what comes back.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And then in terms of the work that you're doing educating others, I feel like I get a sense from your content, but if you don't mind letting us know, like, who's your target audience?
Yeah, my target audience is British people. From the beginning, it was very important to me to not fold and to start doing content about the US, because a lot of the content and the books I read in the beginning were from the US.
Mhm.
A lot of great books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad comes to mind. A lot of the Warren Buffett stuff that I read
Mhm.
as well. But increasingly, my focus is on Black Brits,
Mhm.
um, British people of African and Caribbean descent, because I feel like it's a community that I'm uniquely qualified to speak to and help.
Mhm.
I am from that community. I understand our opportunities and our challenges very intimately. I care a great deal. I think if you look back historically, a lot of challenging things have happened to us. Specific challenges require specific solutions, and I'm really pleased to say that after years of being too scared to actually just zero in
Mhm.
on us, now that I am, the stuff I'm sharing is being welcomed with open arms.
Yes.
So I literally leap out of bed every morning, knowing that I'm able to help.
Yes, I completely agree. There's been a few videos where I was like, okay, the amount of research that has gone into this. I know it's probably like 90 seconds, but the amount of information that you put in there, I think there was one that was like, this is good, where you researched, okay, if each person was from the Black community was to put in a certain amount, we could have trillions or billions
Hmm.
in a pot, and then
Hmm.
we could do X with it.
Hmm.
And that's powerful, especially when you put the stats and the numbers behind it.
Yeah, so what I'll say to everyone is, if you see me speaking online for 1 minute, I've probably spent a day reading about that thing.
Mm.
And then what I do is I'll research and I'll write, and then typically I'll then film it the next day, because I want to make sure that, yeah, I include everything I want to include,
Mhm.
and that it's watertight. So I'm normally speaking about something. If I'm speaking this much, I've like read that much, and then you condense it down. And it would be easier if I could do a 1 hour video on it, because I could just write all the things,
Yeah.
but actually condensing it down into something that's simple and compelling, that takes a long time. But if we look at that example, I'm trying to remember what prompted me to read about the how many of us there were. But normally the numbers you hear around the number of British people of African and Caribbean descent
Mhm.
is around England and Wales,
Okay.
because that's the census that gets reported mainly. But I took the time to so I read the 2021 England and Wales census.
Mhm.
I also read the Scottish 2022 census. I think it was delayed by a year because of COVID. And then I read the Northern Ireland census as well. And I added it all together, and I got to this 3.3 million figure. I started to just do the sums in my head, and I was like, wow, at only a rate of a few £100 per head, we could raise like £1 billion. We could raise like a lot of money, because there's people in there who might not be able to afford that much. There'll be people who aren't working,
Mhm.
there'll be children and so on. Even if only half of us did it, that's still a rate of £600 per head. Essentially, once you have millions of people, billions of pounds become possible.
Mhm.
A lot of the response to that post was that, I'd love to do it. And by the way, I wasn't doing it to ask anyone for any money. I was just putting the idea out there
Yeah.
that, look, we have the numbers now.
Starting a fund.
Yeah, and this is the most of us there's ever been in the country.
Mm.
Now, a lot of the response to that post was around, oh yeah, but you know, there's a lack of trust in the community. Who will manage the money, this, that, and the other. There's, you know, firstly, other communities have been doing this for ages. You know, Jewish diasporians raise money in this way for their own causes and have been doing so for a very long time. That's the first thing. Secondly, I would ask us to be less hard on ourselves. We don't trust or not trust each other any more or less than anyone else. At 3.3 million people, that means that there are more black people in this country than there are Welsh or Northern Irish people. But unlike those countries, we don't have a first minister, a police force, a health service, a flag, a national anthem. We're disparate. So we lack infrastructure. That's what we lack. But I think for the first time, we have the numbers, the capital, and the technology to actually combine our economic might and to make things happen. And with the best will in the world, I don't think we can or should be relying on the government to do this for us. Public finances are incredibly stretched. The government can just about send an ambulance your way if something's gone wrong, or you know, or a fire engine your way if something's gone wrong. So I think we're now living in an age of where if you want to raise a lot of money, you can spend 10 years building $1 billion company, or you can just find other people and just combine your funds.
Yes. We have shared interests as well,
Yeah.
stuff that we want to elevate,
Yeah.
stuff we want to work on. And just as you said, it's okay, how are we looking at this? Glass half full, half empty? If already we're coming up with reasons not to do it,
Yeah.
then we're kind of standing in our own way. But if there's kind of opportunity and we see what could be done, I think it's all about the attitude as well.
I'll be very, very clear, because you know there are some of us who have plans to go back home or don't see the UK as their home, and that's cool. Like, everyone has their plans, but for those of us who intend to stay here and intend to continue to build here and want to contribute here, this joining forces is not a nice to have. It's actually mandatory for our progress in this country. You know, the country's called the United Kingdom because at one point it wasn't. And we're going to have to continue to do the same. I won't say do the same, because I do think we are united. So there's going to be a lot more content like that from me, because the response has been great, and I think people are ready now.
Yes, brilliant. And I hope other people get ideas, start to put things together, and all of a sudden we've got some structure and governance involved as well.
One more thing I want to say, you know, when you're a black creator making content about black people, about black issues, you will draw your share of like trolls and people trying to say you're being divisive and stuff. But, you know, my response to that will be that there's nothing divisive about a group of people recognizing the challenges that they uniquely face and using their own pooling their own resources to solve those challenges. There is a literal Chinatown in Leicester Square. There's nothing divisive about that. That's just a culture coming together.
Love it.
Yeah, it makes Leicester Square more interesting, the fact that it's there. So if a culture decides to come together and do their own thing, I think that's something to be celebrated, not you can't do that.
A quick second to talk about Risk to Fruits. We are a financial wellness community. We've got a platform, and we're supporting professionals and business owners to manage their finances. This ranges from coaching sessions, one-to-one, group sessions, supporting people in the workplace, and supporting business owners with accounting services, bookkeeping, payroll. We're here to support people that want to take control of their financial future. I'm excited to say that we are 5 years old now, and our community is growing every day. Check out our website to learn how we can better support you.
So I mentioned that we're going to make this a fun podcast, make it interesting. We're filming on a Friday. So I've got 3 games that we could play, and then that will determine the questions that I'm going to ask you. So we've got Jenga, we've got Connect 4, and we've got cards. Which one would you like?
Can I fall?
Okay. So since you're the guest, Although I have a feeling which color you're going to choose. Which color would you like to go for?
Red, please.
Okay, cool. So you could be red. And since you're the guest, you can start first.
Okay. It's not going to fall all the way to the bottom, is it?
Let's
What's that?
try. How we're going to play this is each time both of us play, then I'll ask a question. And then we'll keep going until there's a winner. But I'm just going to ask, are you competitive?
Only against myself.
Okay, cool. Because you're your only competition.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is just fun for us. There's no sore losers. Okay, brilliant. So the first question I'm gonna ask is a good one. Hi, I'm a big fan. Which money lesson would you teach 10-year-old Mr. Moneyjar?
10-year-old Mr. Money Jar, I would teach him about compounding. This is the idea that when you compound something and it grows, with each cycle, you don't just grow the original amount that you put in, your growth grows as well. And this happens in investing. This also happens with relationships. It happens with knowledge. And it's immensely powerful if you can learn this earlier on in life, because you get these examples where people will invest for a child and then stop when that child is in their 20s, and then someone starts in their 20s and like they can't catch up to where the child got to because of all that time of building up. So I would definitely teach 10-year-old me about compounding and compound interest.
That's great, because then if 10-year-old you would have invested that £10 that you got for pocket money, then where would we be right now? Okay, great. Thank you. So you get to play again. For people that don't know Connect 4, I didn't explain. Basically, we're trying to get 4 in a row, either vertically, horizontally, and then we can also do
Yeah, it's in
planters as well.
any direction.
Yes,
Yeah.
any direction.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, next question. Hi, I'm a father of a 4-year-old. My wife has been on maternity leave. I'm struggling to cover the bills and I cannot pick up more shifts because I want to help my wife with our baby. How can I make my money work for our small family?
Really difficult for parents at the moment. I think the order that I would look at this in is to check your entitlements. So that's everything from child benefit to universal credit to the Sure Start maternity grant. You can do that on Turn to Us's website. They are a financial help charity and they have a benefits calculator on there. It may also be worth speaking to both of your HR departments and see if there's any paternity leave or shared parental leave entitlements there. And then lastly, there are lots of organizations that are set up to help people who are in financial difficulty. And I think a good one to speak to is Citizens Advice, because you can literally call them up and ask them for help. And if you are struggling with bills specifically, do speak to your providers. Speak to the gas company, speak to the electricity company, the internet company. I actually did content around this when the cost of living crisis really took off in 2022. And a lot of these providers, they do want to help, but you do need to communicate your situation to them. Even like your mortgage, you can call up your bank and you can make arrangements with them to get a bit of breathing room on your payments.
Yeah, that's really, really good to know, because I think when people are in these situations, they just feel like, you know what, there's a lot of guilt and also not knowing where to turn to. But as you said, if you just try to communicate with them, and thank you that's really good resources that they can look into as well. Okay, cool. It's your turn. What is the difference between saving and investing? Isn't it all putting money away for the future?
It is. Yeah, it's all putting money away for the future. You receive income and you save a portion of it because, yes, you have needs today, but you'll have things that you need to spend money on in the future as well. When you save, you tend to be putting money away for the near term, and you tend to want to keep that money stable. So you'll put it into a savings account for an interest rate, and the money's there in cash, and then you earn interest on it. When you invest, this tends to be for the longer term. So we're not talking about days or weeks or even months. We're generally talking years that we're trying to invest the money for. And when you invest, the value of your investments can go up or down. And this is quite interesting when you first start investing and you see the money you've put in with a positive number or a negative number. It doesn't mean that you've lost money. It just means that the value of your investments at that point in time, when you've checked them, have risen or fallen. And you don't crystallize that until you sell those investments. But the idea with investing is that you invest little and often so that you can grow your money over time for a longer term goal, like early retirement or financial independence, or passing the money on to your loved ones. Yeah,
Hence that compounding kind of.
hence compounding.
Brilliant. It's your turn.
Okay.
Okay, I'm yellow.
Did you mean to put it there?
No, but
Gonna
it's
take it
okay. No, it's okay. It might work out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
damn it. But it's okay.
All right.
Okay, let me ask the question. Now I'm getting competitive. I started a side hustle 2 years ago. It is going well. I've made £1,000 a month now. I know I can make more if I can focus on it full time. Should I leave my job as a project manager?
So first thing to say is in the UK, we have what's called the trading allowance. So if you are engaged in trading income and you make £1,000 or more in a tax year, which runs from April to March, then you have to register for self-assessment, which is the process by which you pay tax on your trading income. And you need to register for that by the 5th of October after the tax year that you're currently in. So congratulations. Like if you made that £1,000, that's the first thing that you have to do. In terms of making £1,000 once, was that what it said in the question?
It sounds like a month. Like now it's consistent.
£1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great amount of money to consistently be earning. But if we look at the average monthly expenditure in the UK, it's at around the 2.5 grand point.
More than that.
So I wouldn't say it's time to quit the job just yet. I think it's either a sign that you can perhaps reduce a day. Maybe you can go from 5 days to 4 days, or it's a sign that what you're doing is working. And so it's like, how can you scale out your business so you can turn that £1,000 into 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I share this from personal experience as someone who started a business. Mr. Money Jar wasn't my first business. I actually had one beforehand. And the first company I started, I quit my job to start it. And that's not the way you want to do it if you can avoid it, because you put a lot of pressure on yourself to make a lot of money very quickly. And sometimes the universe decides when your business is going to take off, right? Like Zoom, I think, got started, either IPO'd or got started in like 2010, 2011, and was just there until the pandemic. And then we all started using Zoom. So a lot of the time, timing is what makes your business work. And if you're in a position where you're earning money from a job, you got side hustle income coming in, you can let that accumulate in a separate bank account. Make sure you set up a separate business account. Make sure you put all your business transactions through that account as well, so that when you look back, it's just all business.
As an accountant, thank you for saying that, because it's a lot of stress if you don't.
Yeah. Like, what was that for? And then you can take your time. Income is income at the end of the day, and there's no shame in working a job. I wouldn't know all the things I know how to do now if I didn't have my first 3 jobs. I think that's helped me to become a more successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think now things are turning a little bit more. I think maybe pandemic time, it was like, no, get out of your 9 to 5, but there's a lot of value in having a 9 to 5 still. And you mentioned, so I'm just going to ask, in terms of your first idea, not your first idea, your first business, what that was?
It was an app, a fintech app to help people manage their subscriptions. Yeah. But I worked on it with some friends for a year and then ran out of money.
That happens so much, and thank you for sharing, because I think a lot of people then get disheartened and think, you know what, this entrepreneur life, it's not for me. But there's a lot of that you can learn from starting something, and if it doesn't work out, starting another thing as well.
The founder of Instagram started an app called Bourbon beforehand. There are loads of founders who've tried and tried and tried, and then they have their one big thing, and then that's the thing that they're known for. What's important is that you learn the lessons from each thing you've tried, and then you take them forward to the next thing.
Inspiring. Do you want to do your next one? I'll find our next question. We're still okay. Cool.
So tense.
I know, right? I thought it would be like less intense because we're both not competitive, but here we are. So my best friend, who I consider to be my sister, is getting married. She asked me to be a bridesmaid. The maid of honor has planned a hen do abroad that I cannot afford. I've looked at my budget. Should I borrow to attend my best friend's hen do?
It's a personal decision, right? The decision to borrow is a personal one, and the decision to be a part of this celebration is a personal one as well. But I think that hen dos, weddings, they're just one day. Relationships are potentially for a lifetime. And if this person is your sister, your friend that you consider your sister, they wouldn't pressure you into borrowing to go on a trip just once. You have the rest of your lives to do these things with each other. So if it's not in your budget, and borrowing to spend, so you don't have the money, then you borrow to buy the thing, and then you have to pay it back plus interest. I feel like Jet2 holidays is the only winner on that one.
Flight prices have just gone up as well.
Yeah,
So
it's more than £50 per person.
Okay, brilliant. I think it's your turn.
Yeah.
I had a strategy. I'm a creative freelancer. How do I make my budget? How do I make a budget if my income is irregular?
I have a cash flows which has all the months as columns, all my income. There's an income section with all the rows, and then underneath there's an expenses section. And it's about plotting out your income and seeing which month is your lowest paid month, if your months are uneven. Then plotting out your expenses, so there'll be the things that you have to pay for, and then there'll be the things that come in and out. You can sum them to give you, your cash each month. Some months will be a positive number, some months will be a negative number, and you basically try and pay yourself an amount that allows you to cover your the amount that you need to pay every month. So you want to not stretch yourself too thin. And this is where the separate bank account comes in. You have a business bank account. You almost pile the money up in there, and then you can pay yourself almost a salary out of that. That's enough to pay for your fixed expenses. And then if you need any extra, you can take any extra as well.
Yeah.
And make sure you do it in a separate bank account so that all the transactions are in one place. And then obviously like saving money for tax and stuff as well, which is why you need to speak to an accountant like yourself. What you don't want to do is get a big invoice and then just spend it all, and not accumulate it somewhere and then make a plan for how much you want to divvy that money up by, because that will give you cash troubles down the line.
That's such a good point. I've got quite a lot of creatives and like actors in our community because my sister's an actor. And the point around, even if you are kind of self-employed is how they see themselves. They're not seeing themselves as this is a business, but you can have two separate bank accounts and then treat it as a business.
100%. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Budgeting is just part of it. Ultimately, you want to make as much money as you possibly can by doing what you love. So at the same time as you're doing that, you have that plan. Also think about ways that you can bring in additional money. That could be by doing more creative work, or it could be by getting a job. Like genuinely, if with my business now, so I've got an amount of money there that's enough to keep the lights on for X however many months. But if I found that I wasn't bringing any money through Mr. Money Jar, I would definitely get a job. And I would like to think that I'd be pretty employable because of all the stuff I've been doing. So income is my mantra.
Yes, you gotta stay afloat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whew, I can't see how this is gonna end. Very little choice. I don't understand why I have less money to spend each month. I've had a 2.5% pay increase each year. I don't overspend, but I cannot seem to save or invest. How can I fix my finances?
Those 2.5% pay increases sound to me like inflationary pay increases. Essentially, the way that the system is designed is for the price of goods and services in the UK to go up by at least 2% a year. Like that's very much baked into the system. And we call that the rate at which things go up, we call that inflation. And the Bank of England's whole job is to keep it at 2. If it goes higher than 2, then they'll bring interest rates up to bring it back down to 2. And if it drops below 2, they'll lower interest rates. So what that means for your money is that the value of your money stays the same, but the price of everything you're paying for around your money is going up by 2% a year. And this is cumulative. It compounds.
Yeah.
So even though nominally you're being paid more, when you then get to the shop to buy things, you are able to buy less stuff. We see this most prominently with the price of Freddos, I guess, which like just go up like every year. So the simple answer to this is to increase your pay by greater than the rate of inflation, greater than this 2.5% thing you've been getting. And when we look at the data, the biggest pay jumps come from moving job. Unfortunately, the system does not reward you staying somewhere for too long. The average person will work between 11 and 12 jobs in their life. And the biggest jumps come from moving. The highest paid people, however, have been in their jobs for the longest time. So it's like you move, you jump, you move, you jump, move, you jump, and then you stay. But if you want to increase your pay, you need to move. And then the industry in which you work is also very important as well. We live in a world where some of the most important jobs don't pay that much, like teaching and being a nurse and that sort of thing. So the industry in which you work is also important as well. And it's funny you should ask me that, because I was literally doing some research yesterday on the highest paid roles in the country. A lot of them are senior, like director level managerial roles, but driving like a tube or a tram like pays a lot of money.
Okay.
PR roles, marketing roles pay a lot of money, senior medical roles. So it's about looking at your skills, looking at what you would want to do, and then moving into an industry where you can actually be paid your worth.
And we were talking about AI earlier in terms of things are changing really quickly. So industries change. I mean, I'm not sure how much the medical industry is going to change. I think we're always going to need nurses and carers, but just to make sure that you have the relevant skills so then you can jump, so people feel like they've got options.
That's a really good point. All the things I said are backwards looking. You know, the government data I'm looking at in terms of earnings is looking at what's happened, but absolutely going forwards, the world is going to change beyond all recognition. It's already changed so much since 2020. When I started doing Mr. Money Jar, I was making square image posts on Instagram, and now there are people pitching me in my DMs with cloned AI videos just made out of prompts. It's like a person that looks like a person, but it's just been made from prompts. So goodness knows what the world's going to look like in 2030. But if you can be the person who has future-facing skills, absolutely, you will be in a lot of demand and you'll be able to be paid really well.
How do you feel about it all, actually? Because I'm just checking myself to be like, am I excited about AI and
Artificial
technology?
intelligence.
Yeah or no?
I was like, how long have you got? But we go through technological revolutions, you know, in cycles. 10,000 years ago, we had the agricultural revolution. So we went from living as hunter-gatherers to staying in one place and accumulating. Then in the order of a few centuries ago, we had the industrial revolution and we went from animal and human power to machine power. And that took a few centuries to bed in. Then in the 70s, 80s, we started the digital revolution, which was a move from machine power to computing power. And then that's taken a few decades to bed in. Based upon the research that I'm doing, the AI revolution that we're now in will take years to manifest. Like
Okay.
it changes every 6 months. So I'm not against technological progress. What I do think that we're not equipped to deal with is the speed, because stuff is changing so quickly.
Yeah.
How do you learn the new skills? How do you adapt to the changes that are coming in? How do you legislate and regulate all of these changes
Yeah.
and make sure that people aren't left behind? Because there's two scenarios with AI. Either it creates more wealth than we've ever seen before. We all become enormously wealthy as a society as a result.
Oh,
Or the wealth imbalances that we already have in society become even more pronounced by the people who are able to harness it and then use it against everyone else. I think the best way to think about AI is as a technology layer. It has direct applications, but it's more of a technology layer in that it is a technology that enables things to happen. So it's analogous to the internet. The creator of, no one really knows who the creator of the internet is, but everyone knows the people who used it to build businesses and make money. And I'm thinking of AI in that way. What do you think?
very, very interesting. I think the same in terms of it's what you make it. Where it goes, we need to drive that. What scares me is what it looks like right now, what society looks like right now. It's been a weird year in terms of what you see, where one end people are really struggling, but then the wealthy are really wealthy, and so. I'm concerned that actually it's scenario number 2 that you mentioned is what's going to happen, which can be scary. But as you said, we've always been changing, so you can adapt to it. And hopefully governments, institutions, they'll adapt a bit quicker. Yeah. Okay, cool. We went on a little bit of a tangent there, if you don't mind. I have very little. This has been good on your part, like blocking places. Yeah. I'm trying to like read where you go next. Hey, so I'm getting mixed messages on social media. Should I pay off my mortgage early or invest in stocks and shares?
First thing I'll say to that person is go on YouTube and check out the Humble Pennies video on how they paid off their mortgage in 7 years, I believe it was. So that's Ken and Mary from the Humble Penny. Fantastic video. Ken is there with a whiteboard and he explains how they did it, and he explains the downwards. It's almost like the opposite of compounding when you invest. When you pay off debt, it snowballs downwards as well. So you start to pay off small amounts in the beginning, but then the more you pay off, the more quickly you pay off. And the decision to pay off your mortgage versus invest comes down to your values and what you want to have at the end, like what your goals are. Because if you pay off your if you overpay your mortgage and you own your house outright, then that is a bricks and mortar property that you can live in, that you can extend, that you can grow a family in, create memories in, and so on. And, particularly when you look at like things like the birth rate in the country and things, and you actually speak to people about like what the life and financial milestones they like to go through before they do like start a family, a lot of it is like getting on the property ladder and actually buying a house that's their own. So there are significant financial and like life reasons why you'd want to buy and own a property, like have security of housing. But then on the other side, when you look at how much the stock market grows by every year, and over the last few decades, it's been like 10% a year annually, it tends to be the asset class that outperforms all of the other ones. I think second only to like crypto in the last 5 years, but that's just a much shorter time horizon. It's a slightly different asset. If you invested, then you'd end up with this big pot of money at the end, which if you withdraw from it at a lower rate than the amount it grows by every year, you'd be able to live off it. You could take loans out against that money. You could use that money to then buy a property at that point in time. So it really does come down to your goals and your lifestyle and your values. One thing I will say is that in order to get to those larger pot sizes when you're investing, when you put the numbers into a compound interest calculator, you kind of need to invest as though you're paying into a mortgage, i.e. thousands of pounds a month. And most people, if they're renting or have a mortgage, they can't do both. So they focus on the house. So I would say if living in your house is important to you, you can focus on the mortgage, and then any surplus cash you have, because it's a significant expense, particularly at the moment, and any surplus cash you have, you can then invest after you've done the mortgage. But it really is a personal decision.
Very good point. And another good point in terms of you actually need to stick to it. If you're going to be investing it, then this only works if you stick to the plan. Yeah. Cool. What should I invest in? There are so many routes like property, crypto, index fund. I think it's related to the last question. I'm a little bit overwhelmed, so anything that you can say is really welcomed.
Well, they've mentioned index funds in the question, so I'll speak about those because I'm assuming there's a degree of knowledge about what they are. So when I first started investing, I tried to invest in the stock market and I bought a stock. So I, as a person who had been buying consumer items their whole life, then went to the stock market and was like, oh, here's a company that I've interacted with in the shops, so let me buy their stock. I then bought it, it went up by a little bit, then it went down, and I sold it, and that's it. Once I then learned a bit more about investing, I started to invest in funds rather than in just one company. The reason why is if you invest in just one company, that company can do really well or it can do not so well. And when you look at the data, even professionals don't know which stocks or which collections of stocks are going to outperform the market in general over long periods of time. Even Warren Buffett lagged the S&P 500 for a little bit, like his Berkshire Hathaway did. So what's become really popular is investing in index funds. And index funds will track entire stock markets. You can buy index funds that are based on the FTSE, which is the FTSE 100 is the grouping of the largest 100 companies in the UK. You can invest in a S&P 500 index fund, which tracks the biggest 500 companies in the US. You can even invest in a global index fund, which tracks thousands of companies all over the world, albeit in the proportions that they are in the stock market. And so 2/3 of a global index fund will probably be the US anyway. Looks like setting up a direct debit and then paying in a set amount of money every month in what's called pound cost averaging into that index fund. And if the market's up, then your money will buy slightly fewer units in the fund. And if the market's down, then your money will buy slightly more units in the fund because they're cheaper. And what we find is if you do this, you can just by consistently investing, achieve the average performance of the stock market, which, as we said earlier on in this episode, has been about 10% a year, which will double every pound you put in every 7. So like no timing the market involved, no trying to like pick stocks or anything like that. You're just investing. Now, if you then build your confidence with that, and then you have a well-researched something else you want to invest in, you can take out of your what's called your core portfolio and you can create a satellite portfolio, and you can put whether it's 10, 20, 25% of your money into things that you think are going to grow a bit more than just the standard index fund investing. Now, is index fund investing completely risk-free? No. In April, the stock market fell in response to Donald Trump's tariffs, for example. And we live in a social media world now whereby things people say on one side of the planet can tank your portfolio on this side of the planet. That's just the world we live in now. If we adopt that long-term perspective, then, and we're doing it with money that we don't need tomorrow, next week, or next month, then you can grow your wealth over time with that.
Yeah, great answer. To be honest with you, I don't think I have anything to add on to that. Yeah, really good. And I think the key takeaway is also do your research. So thank you very much. I think now we're focusing on the
Finishing
game.
off the game.
Yeah, finishing off the game.
Okay. Let's do it. Right, that's 4 in a row.
That's 2 lines as
Oh, wow, I got a double 4.
I
Sorry.
didn't see it.
Sorry.
Well, thank you so much. I'm trying to be gracious here. No, that's a lot too, as well. Like, okay, well done. That's strategy for you. So,
Yeah.
well, it was really great, but maybe let's wrap up before we leave. We've got our seeds that we sow, meaning people can go away and do a little bit of research on their own. Is there a book that you would recommend for people to read?
The book I always recommend is Richest Man in Babylon, because it's short, it's simple, it's full of parables and just easy to take away nuggets, and it's a great gateway book into learning about, like saving and investing your money, and there's some good wisdom in there. And then for more visual people, I would recommend just going on YouTube and searching up Warren Buffett and just watching some of his interviews over the years. He shares a lot of financial wisdom, but also life wisdom as well. I think he's like 95 now. So
Yes, he's done really well for his 95 years. Thank you. And where can people find you?
I am at Mr. Money Jar. That's like a jar of money across all social media. And look, I've really, really enjoyed, the discussions and the content and stuff I've been creating this year. So just do come say hi, and thank you to everyone who has done so far.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. That is all for us today, guys. Join us next week for some more seeds to sow. And please remember to support us by following and leave a rating on our show on whichever platform you're listening to us from. To those watching on YouTube, please leave a like and a subscribe to our channel. All of your support goes a long way. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, keep shining.